We're all called to holiness, but we know holiness doesn't look the same for everybody. Our great Catholic tradition is filled with saints, and one of the things I love about that is there's a saint for everybody. You can pick a patron saint, whoever you are, whatever your hobbies are. There's some we'll identify with more than others, because God will use our gifts and our weaknesses in various ways. My favorite saint is Saint Ignatius of Loyola. And maybe you've heard his story before, but he was a very prideful guy. He was debonair, and he cared a lot about his hair and even the way his fingernails looked and fashion, and he wanted to impress women. He would even go into bars and pick fights. So he would see some ladies that he thought were kind of attractive, and he'd walk up to a guy, tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, your mother's ugly," and then start to fight him, and just so he could be stronger and impress the women at the bar. And he was a soldier, and his leg was shattered by a cannonball. And so he was stuck in bed reading while he was convalescing, and the only book that he had around was the Lives of the Saints. He didn't want to be reading that book, but it's what was there, so he was reading it to occupy his time. And he was reading about the life of St. Francis and the life of St. Dominic, and in his pride and in his vainglory, he kind of said to himself, I could do that. I could be just as saintly as they are. So God takes that moment of his own weakness, of his own pride, to transform that into what would become one of the greatest religious orders and spiritual powerhouses of our whole Catholic tradition. There are saints who are meek. There are saints who are bold. There are saints who would never say an unkind word. Then we have the feast we celebrate today, the Feast of St. Jerome. He was kind of brash and brazen, and he and St. Augustine would write letters back and forth to each other, really, kind of criticizing each other and saying some mean things to each other. But God uses our own personalities and our own temperaments as long as we give it to him. So when it comes to evangelization, you can't close your eyes and picture what evangelization looks like. There are as many ways to evangelize as there are evangelizers. The problem is, there aren't many evangelizers, and that's why God needs you.